Hi, I'm Chris Budgeon. I'm a professional photographer. I've been working in Melbourne for the last 20 years. I shoot mainly people talent-oriented advertising. I think what draws me to photography of people in particular is the fact that you get this extraordinary opportunity to step inside people's spaces in a very short time. I love meeting new people. Everyone has a story, and I'm always sort of curious to find that story. And photography is a great tool to where people will reveal themselves to you quite quickly, where under normal circumstances it might take, years to know somebody that well. One of the key elements of a great portrait would have to be being able to reveal something of that person. If that person gives up some of their character or some sort of insight to themselves, or reveal some sort of energy. For portraiture, one of my favorite lenses is the 85. Canon make a beautiful f1.2 and a really nice f1.8 85mm lens, which are great for sort of headshots. The 85 1.2 has a really wide aperture, which is the diaphragm of the lens, which allows more light in so that you can shoot in low light conditions, but it also has the benefit of really shallow depth of field. So I can focus right in on your eyes, but get quite shallow depth of field in the background and in the foreground, which can look really nice and just sort of bringing your eyes right into the focus of your subject. One of the first things I try and do when I'm taking somebody's picture is look at the shape of their face. And I think that sort of can tell you a lot of things about where you might take a shot from. Just very casually sort of have a look. Maybe they look good from the side, maybe they look good from a slightly higher angle, maybe they have a great profile. Just really casually have a quick look at the shape of that face, and it just sort of unconsciously lets me think, okay, this would be the good angle that I could possibly shoot them from. This brief is essentially a portrait. A portrait to me is a photograph of a person that you've somehow engaged with. Now that could be something quite structured and formal, where you've controlled the situation, but it can also be something completely unstructured, where it's just a happy snap running around the beach. But I still think it does need some form of interaction or engagement between you and the sitter. The other little trick here is that we have to have a piece of gum, bubble gum, in the portrait. This can be in any form, shape, or matter, and this is where imagination is going to come into it. As long as that gum is in there somewhere, and then it fits the brief. Things I'll be looking for are shots that are well executed, well composed, but I'll be looking for, beyond that, I'll be looking for pictures that somehow have an emotional element to them. Just something that sort of takes me back a little bit. Something that has a bit of impact is always great. Humor as well, and you can't go past a joke. Well, I think my first tip would be to think outside the square, to not take the brief too literally, but try and think of new ways, new angles that you could sort of approach this from. Have a really good think about it, because the more time you sort of think about it behind the camera, and the more time you put into preparing for it, I think those results will show themselves in your end product. Don't forget to communicate what you're doing with your subject, and I really find it helps if you're shooting people to include them in the project. Tell them what you want, what you're looking for, what the idea is, and see if they have some ideas. Maybe they, collaborative projects always come up with really interesting results. And one of the things you have to remember in the middle of a shoot is you're the one who's going to set the pace and the energy of the shoot. And so if you set sort of a relaxed, fun environment, that is going to come out in your photographs. So you'll find people follow your energy, so you have to lead by example. Once you're in your shoot, don't forget to just mentally, every once in a while, take a step back and sort of have a look at the whole thing. Maybe there's a different angle you could use, mix it up a little bit. Maybe it's you want to zoom out or go for a slightly wider view. If you're doing an action shot, for instance, the action happens. Don't when the action's finished, just drop your camera and go, okay, that's over. Have a look. Sometimes it's after the action, the decisive moment. can happen at the most surprising time. So keep your eyes open and just be aware of mixing it up. Don't get locked into just one way of doing something. When you're shooting, just be aware of the lighting conditions, the light that's falling on your subject. Just take a moment and have a look. Is it harsh sun? Are there deep shadows if you're outside? If that's the case, don't be afraid to, if your camera has a little pop-up flash, set that to manual and use it as a fill-in, or if you have an auxiliary flash, just fill in those harsh shadows. Have a look around. Open shadow is always really lovely light to shoot in. So if there's some open shadow and it's bright behind you and your subject's in a more soft open light, the eyes are going to pick up the bright light behind you and still sort of not too harsh shadows on your subject. Maybe there's a big window and you get lovely soft side light. Another great one is putting the sun behind you, where the sun sort of rim lights your subject. And then again, maybe you can use your flash to fill in the darker shadows. Try and remember to keep that energy up and to keep things moving along. If it's flagging a bit, take a little break, come back to it with a bit of renewed vigor. Don't forget to mix it up, look at different things, look at different angles, look at different elevations, different focal lengths. But I keep saying the bit about the energy thing, and really that's one thing I have learned is that projection of energy, that'll go straight into your photograph and that'll come straight back at you. So, which kind of gets down to the thing of, you really want to have a bit of fun. That's almost the most important thing here is just try and relax and have a bit of fun with it and try some crazy stuff.